All right, what's going on, all of my fellow avoidant discardees, the emotional executionees? Are you hurting? Are you in pain? How long has it been since you've talked with your avoidant? If you've just joined this channel, I recommend going all the way back to the beginning. I've got plenty of videos that are going to detail my path as a person who's gotten out of a relationship with an avoidant person 3 months in now. My life could have been much different right now, and I actually kind of dread thinking about. I don't have to think about it. I used to dread it. Now I've kind of accepted. I'm very grateful that God heard conversations that I wasn't present for. Go back and look at some of my videos where I talk about that. But essentially, I'm 3 months in now, no contact, and I removed all avenues by which this person could access any of my energy. That included getting rid of pictures in my phone, deleting everything, deleting the phone number, blocking things. Mutual friends had to be blocked. I went hard in the paint. I wasn't playing games. I was hurting, very much so, very vulnerable, but I wasn't actually so vulnerable. I actually was coming from a place of secure. I decided to protect my values, the integrity of my values, self-love, self-dignity, self-respect, the things that are eroded over time due to the avoidance, distancing, and triangulations of other relationships with other men or women, depending on whichever, by using your energy to regulate themselves, their own nervous system, so that they can function properly and give that proper functioning to everybody else around you, that warmth, that love, that spirit, right? Does that sound familiar to anybody? So here we are 3 months in, and one thing that I've been doing, and I've come to a realization tonight. I made a video where I talked about how I'm carrying this person. I'm not ready to necessarily let it go. You can detach emotionally from it to a certain extent, but even then you still have these feelings of angst. You still have these feelings deep down that come up when you think about this person because they're still on your mind sometimes. You might not have all of the the resentful bearing or founded conversations with yourself that you might have with this person as much, but you still think about them, right? And even 3 months in, what I've noticed I've been doing is I have been preparing myself for a possible reunion with this person, or a phone conversation or a text message that might come, in ways in which I can protect myself. Now, I wrote a few things down here that I'm going to go into that are very important here. I normally like to go off the cuff, and pretty much I'm going off the cuff right now, but I did write a couple things down just in the event that I might miss something. I tend to go on tangents sometimes, and so I have a tendency to do that. I'm an interdisciplinary man. I bob and weave, and I always get back to the center of the circle, but we go on one, right? Anyway, I digress. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So basically, I've noticed something about when you're changing over. I use this opportunity of a discard to level up, unwind up a spiraling staircase. We're transcending that old primal state that brought us to the relationship to begin with. All right, the old nervous system. I found out, if you look into some of my previous videos, that I myself had been avoidant in relationships myself, and that this avoidant that you're dealing with is a mirror to you. That is a very important piece that you need to be aware of. What was it that brought you to this person, and why are you choosing from a pattern perspective? It's a behavior pattern if you're choosing avoidant people. What is it about your unconscious that you either uncovered and are choosing to ignore? Your intuition is always going to tell you that a person is avoidant. And your intuition's always right, especially about these things. It's important to admit these things. You had the hunch, or hunches. You had the patterns that started to emerge. You had the distancing that started to occur. You saw what you might perceive as flirtatious gestures towards other people right in front of you. Where's the warmth for me, you say, right? You hold yourself to be a high value person, or you have that self-respect, self-love, and self-dignity. That's when you realize that you are starting to degrade the way that person's behaving, and the way you keep stepping in or leaning in. You're starting to give up your values, right? They're starting to erode a little bit. Now you're getting anxious. Does that sound familiar? Right? So what is it that brought you to that person, right? And it's important to know that this is divine intervention, that God heard conversations that you weren't present for, but also that God brought you to them to begin with. Keep that in mind. The synchronicities were all along my path towards this person. It was like in flow with life, and you live on a high vibration. But you're brought to that person for a reason, and it's that realization that leads you to believe that there's a reason why you're supposed to learn something from this. Is it to perhaps be able to hold the provisions that you're about to be bestowed upon you by the universe, the things you want to do in life? You're overcoming those unconscious scripts, that bullshit that controls your nervous system, that keeps you from knowing yourself and your weaknesses, that are going to be required to hold the integrity of what you want to do in your life. You want to level up yourself, right? You want to be the best version of yourself you can be. So I've been preparing for a potential reunion with this person. What am I going to say to them? What am I going to do? This is not an everyday thing, but it's I go away from it on occasion, and I think to myself, am I ready to truly let this go fully? Because I feel like I'm using this energy to my advantage, because I'm recognizing how still thinking about this person makes me feel. And then I sit with that feeling and recognize it, why I'm feeling that way, and what I can do, knowing that I've leveled up. My higher self is out there. I've been rewiring myself over 3 months. It's incredible what's happened to me. I try to explain it, but it's very difficult to, especially to people who have not recognize that they've been involved with this avoidant attachment type of relationship. And so my higher self is showing me, essentially, and rejecting those feelings, or not rejecting, but highlighting them, so that when I see it, I can sit with it, and I can say, all right, this is where I used to be. I would sit in this vibration, and my higher self is showing the contrast to where you're at compared to where you were. And that's the importance of sitting in silence and recognizing these things, right? And so as I'm sitting there in silence and I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm feeling like crap. I've been spending half the day thinking, but I'm feeling like some kind of reunion. I'm feeling like this person may reach out at some point in the near future. I don't know. But one thing I do know is I can't worry about that. And I'm going to explain here. I wrote these things down. All right, so when I think about it, why is it that, what am I doing what have I been up to? Number one, I've been preparing myself for a potential reunion with this person, whether it be a text message, phone call, or whether the person shows up on my doorstep. I doubt that's the case. But on the surface, I'm trying to rehearse how I'm going to protect myself. Protect meaning not allow that person back in for, I guess you could call it a fear that I might slip back into that low vibrational frequency that person was trying to capture me in to begin with. Okay? Now, 2 words are key here. Protect and fear. 2 primal state of consciousness. 2 primal states of thinking. Primal being anxiety. Primal being lacking. The very same spiritual and emotional state and mindset state that led you to that avoidant. Manifesting a reunion with a fucking avoidant. Do you see where this is going? 2 key words. As a life coach, I have to recognize them. This is coaching myself. I'm admitting this. I have no problem admitting that we as coaches have to struggle with things in our own lives. This is where you make the big bucks. All right, so protection and control. Protection is survival, ladies and gentlemen. Survival is primal. You are avoidant in certain phases of life, we'll say, and that might not be the most accurate thing to say or to describe your life as, but it comes from childhood and being in a state of uncertainty, of chaos, childhood trauma. Does that ring a bell? You must survive. The avoidant, what do? They avoid emotional intimacy because they were taught that as a child, that showing and being vulnerable and showing your emotions is wrong. It's bad. You're shamed for it, and that it's not to be tolerated. Otherwise, you'll be abandoned. And so your nervous system goes into survival mode whenever intimacy is offered in a relationship. Look at me. Look at me. Now it gets even better here. All right? So on the surface, I'm trying to rehearse how I'm going to protect myself, but unconsciously, I'm seeking a way to gain leverage over the situation to control the relationship dynamic. Do you hear this? In the event that that person reaches out to me, because I refuse to reach out, I refuse. I gave that person the dignity and respect and love to give them the last word. They made their words. Hey, I don't have any resentment towards you, but I don't see a way moving forward for us. I wish you all the best, with no period after the sentence, on Valentine's Day. Ooh. Right? I don't know that I've ever been that cold, man. I've never been that cold. I was once. Okay, I was. I've been cold like that. Boy, the karmic loop closes, right? So this is very important. All right, this is very reflective, and it's important that we do that because it brings you back to contrast, and I'll explain here. All right, I mentioned contrast before. So control is primal. Protect is survival, is primal. Letting go is abundance, and I'll get to that. So I'm trying to control the relationship dynamic, knowing that that relationship is bringing a low vibrational frequency that does not match the alignment or resonance of my higher self, of where I'm going and what I'm doing. Okay? So this is very critical that we understand this stuff. And I have to admit, I sat here for a while and I thank God for the opportunity and the abundance of information that was given to me just by simply sitting and thinking and reflecting and writing these things down. Sometimes the power of the pen. I actually won a prize in a power of the pen writing competition a long time ago. There are no synchronicities in this world.